Hi, how are you? I hope you're well. Welcome to Mel's Mindful Musings. So here's a question, a big question for us today. What is my biggest dream? And what can I do today to move closer to that dream? Okay, there's a biggie. So what do you think about that? I pulled some cards to give inspiration for response to that. First one. Step away from the crowd. This has come up a lot, and I think this can be used for so many things that if we just do what everyone else does, we're unlikely to find our own path, find our own way of doing things. It doesn't mean you can't get inspiration from others, and that's often a good thing, but if we're comparing ourselves to what everyone else there is doing, and we're too afraid to step out and do our own thing, follow our own inspiration, follow our own truth, then we're unlikely to actually move closer to that which we want to achieve. And I also think here that we also need to do it, a little step at a time. It's having those realistic expectations that very often I hear people give up on their dreams because they can't get it straight away. I've known things that have started to come into fruition for me now that I think I started dreaming about 15 years ago or more sometimes, and now they're starting to come to fruition. But if I look back and reflect, I was taking steps towards it all the while, whether that was learning more, doing another course, learning more skills. Do you know what I mean? It's you can't just all of a sudden think, that's it, that's my dream, and then I can create it and do what everyone else is doing who seems to be successful, but I can do it overnight. Because I'm sure if you read any autobiographies of any successful people or people that realize their dreams, very rarely did it happen overnight. The next one is you're not afraid. Okay? I love that picture of David and Goliath there. But I think it's more about, it brings in more that we possibly are afraid. Sometimes it's being afraid that stops us moving towards it. We come up with lots of excuses, don't we? We deflect all the time. I can't do it because. And often what's at the base of that is we're actually scared. We can be more scared of our success, of realizing our dream, than we can of failure. I've known someone that recently got everything they wanted. They'd been moaning over the last 2 years that they couldn't be with somebody, and they wanted to be together, but they were scared of what's going on in the world and fearful. And then finally they've got together, and this time they were speaking about the fact that now they don't get on very well. And I said, well, it is a case of sometimes be careful what you wish for. And I said, now you've actually got your dream, but now you've got a different challenge that you now need to work through. So, it is about that. It's always checking in, is this still what you really want? But also, once it arrives, it usually comes with other challenges. So it could be you want to create a business, you want a new job, you want to have a different relationship or move. But I've known people that have moved house, and that's their dream. And then they start moaning about the new house because in their mind, the dream has taken on a sort of a fantasy element. So it's very, very important that we always check in with our level of expectation and the realistic view of what it is we're dreaming about. If you want to start a business, you start it, but then the challenges also start for a different reason of what lies ahead of you. So everything brings with it the next steps and the next steps. It isn't an end of anything. It's often just a new beginning. So the next message was change the scenery. And what I felt with this was sometimes we need to take a different look at something. And that's what I mean, constantly checking in with that dream, constantly checking in and reviewing our actions. Now, when we talked about stepping away from the crowd, it can be that sometimes those that are closest to us, or people can, as they say, rain on our parade. Sometimes you might find people aren't supportive, or they say that's a silly idea and that'll never work. Whatever it is, It doesn't mean ignore all advice or totally step away from everybody. For me, it's just getting that realistic view, listening to advice when it's offered, and then taking what you feel will work for you and maybe leave the rest. There may be some of that becomes important later. But that's where you often can also test your resolve, that if people keep putting it down all the time and saying that's silly, are you going to give up at the first hurdle because everyone doesn't agree with you? So I feel changing the scenery is also about changing your perspective. Sometimes it means get out, go for a walk, look at it differently, have a different view of it. Take a breath from it, take a step back from it until you can see it differently. As they say, rise above it, change your perspective, and just keep going. When you're checking in all the time, but keep going. Do those tiny steps. Even if your biggest dream is world peace, you start with yourself, being peaceful and kind to others. So every dream you can take your first step. So what are you going to do today? So I wish you well, and I will see you soon. Bye.